Hello.
Welcome, Brian.
Hello, thank you.
And I should mention the first question would be, the ideal question is, now that you've experienced lots and lots of gigs with the band, with AC/DC, how confident are you going out in front of the kids and, approaching them and that sort of thing?
Well, my confidence is building up slowly, but obviously I've still got a long way to go, personally, before I feel totally confident, just before I walk on stage, at the opening of the set. Because still, every gig that I'm doing now is still the first gig. Because, every audience is a new audience as I'm going around the world. And all the audiences have seen the band before with Bond. So therefore, every gig I do is the first time. If you understand, if you can understand that, it's never, if it had been in front of the same audience all the time, I'd be well accepted by now. But every gig is the first gig for me, always.
Did you have time at all on this gig to sit down and reflect where you really are?
Oh, yeah, sometimes it's a great question, because sometimes I do, especially if you're alone in the hotel room. You get up in the morning and you make yourself a cup of coffee, and you suddenly, you look around at your surroundings, and you come from a working class family, and you're surrounded by all this kind of thing, and there's limousines outside the door. It's really easy to lose perspective, of where you are and what you're doing. But the nice thing about the band is, and I'm sure you know this yourself personally, because you met all the boys, that they're really down to earth, and they won't let you escape into that, seventh heaven of stardom. They won't let you get there, and that makes it much easier, because you don't have to, you don't best start believing your own publicity.
The thing that I like best about AC/DC is what you've just said, is the no star attitude.
Yeah.
There is no big labels or big things on your heads, halos saying, look, we're stars, and I really like that. The really down to earth people is what you are.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's great. We could go to an AC/DC gig, and you'll be backstage, and a couple of the guys will bring their mums and dads in. And the mums and dads really get into the rock and roll, and it's really a touring family. Really, that's all it is. It's not a group; it's a family more than anything. Everybody does everything together, as much as we can. So it makes it much easier on the road. If I'm bored, I can just pick the phone up and say to Malcolm, I'm bored. And then Malcolm will say, well, we'll get Cliff over and Phil over, and we'll start a card game. And there's always something to do, We're always ready for a good laugh, and that makes it much easier.
Now, for the listeners who don't know, you, Brian, come from Newcastle, the one and only town up north.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that your background was slightly different, that you had a working class background.
Yes.
And you were not so much accustomed to limousines and big luxuries, is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But now you've taken it in slowly. Do you find it appealing as well as?
It's just something that's there. It's just something that's there. And after you've been in the first one, the first limousine you get, and then after that, it's just a thing, because it's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. And in 2 months' time, you could be back in your little old Ford Popular, chatting up and down the street, because the fans of music in general is such a fickle thing, and it's the good thing about the AC/DC is they're treated as such. They know that music is a very fickle thing. But the lucky thing about AC/DC is the fact that we just do basic rock and roll, and we believe it'll just never go out of fashion, because it's not so much something to listen to, as more of an experience to feel. You've got to come to a gig That's why we have a very basic policy of never being on television. Really trying not to do too many exposés, if you know what I mean. Being on the television all the time, guest stars, and they just won't have it. You know, they just won't have it. And everything is really, you know, just to try and keep out of the limelight in the best possible way for your fans to see you. You know, to realise your true fans is the people who come to the concerts. And as you know, all the concerts have been sold out, and because of the fact that the fans want to see you, and they know they'll never see you anywhere except on stage.
Now, you've had a previous band, Geordie.
Yeah.
And although you had a couple of, minor hits, what you could call them, or was it, do you have any big hits at all?
Well, yeah, we had a couple of big hits, you know, these silver hits.
But the way I would describe it is like the parallel that I can draw between, let's say, your previous band and this one is the parallel of saying you were locked up in a jail and suddenly you're free, you're out there, and you weren't a star. Okay, we were talking about AC/DC guys not being stars, but to the eyes of the kids, you are a star, whether you like it or not.
Oh yeah, that's weren't fun.
Did you find it hard to come to grips with that the fact that you've suddenly upped and, I don't know, perhaps you were doing the roof or something, or painting the house, to being on the road with a sold out shows?
Yeah, oh, it is. It's really difficult. I mean, you know, it's the same as if I was student. You know, if I told you in a month's time you were going to be the hottest thing in music, you wouldn't be able to grasp it until it happened. But I'm sure you'd be able to manage it. You know, you would be able to manage it. But as I say, the only difficult part is not believing what people say about you. What the kids say about you, great, because they'll know more about you than anybody, because all the reporters in the world will report anything that's not true just to make it sound better. And whereas the kids really want to know the facts. You know, we get letters from kids who've read something in a paper and write to her personally and say, is it true? Is this really true? And we take the time to write back and tell them the exact truth, and they feel much better for it. You know, they've written to her personally, and we try to write back to everybody personally. Just to try to keep on the same street level. That's why the kids never feel threatened or intimidated by the band when they come to see you, because we're the same level as them. They know they could get up on stage and look no different than me or Malcolm or anybody. They could do our job.
It's a family concert, isn't it, really? The AC/DC concert, what I've gathered so far, is everybody really participates in everything. It's okay, there is certain restrictions that you've got to take care of. I mean, you can't have all the kids on stage, because otherwise the stage will fall down. But you could, from what I've seen, is that you are more of a community thing, right?
Yeah, it is. It's the same as when I'm on stage. I say very little. In fact, I don't say anything at all apart from hello, and and I don't even say good night, because the songs just say everything, you know, for the band. It's just like the kids feel part of us. I don't need to jay them up or shout at them, and you know, like a lot of people do. You know, it's best just to let them enjoy themselves. You know, just be there. You know, that's all they want. They don't want to hear me shouting me mouth off and telling them. You know, I've seen too many bands do it, especially rock bands. You know, and it does get a pain in the arse after after about half an hour when the singer's shouting at you between every song. You know, rock and roll and all this. It's all right once, then it starts to get a bit of a pain.
Now, you got the call, and he invited you to join the band, or he asked you whether you'd like to try out with the band. But at the same time, I've asked this question before, but for the people who haven't heard, you had to make a decision whether to leave your old band because you were at the time getting it back together.
Yes, that's right.
Obviously, it must have been a hard decision because, as you told me before, Geordie, the band, they were a group of people that you liked,
Yes,
and it's painful to leave them.
it was, right.
How did you come to grips with that fact that, you have to tell them, well, this is it, folks, I'm just... What did you tell them? What did you tell Geordie?
Well, the boys in Geordie, I've always been lucky by being surrounded by really nice people, and especially up in the northeast, are really nice people, and they made it so much easier for me because they came to me and said, "Take it, go, for God's sake, don't pass up an opportunity like this. Go now. We'll manage. We'll fuddle through and all that." And thank God, that they're still playing. They're still getting a good audience, and they've got another singer now, and they're going from strength to strength, building themselves up again. So I was, they made it very easy for us. Although I still felt terrible, and all I could do in my own little way was make sure they had enough money the first few weeks while they were out of work. The AC/DC realised that they would obviously be straight out of work, therefore no money, and it's their living.
So the money you earned from AC/DC, you've actually shared with those guys as well?
Yeah, the first few weeks, AC/DC said, "Yeah, we understand," and made a lovely little gift to the boys in Geordie to give them a little gift of some money, and it tided them over until they got a new singer, and the scene started work. Because up there, playing in the clubs, semi-professional band, you live week by week. You live hand to mouth on the money that you earn. And there's always little things going wrong, like guitar leads and things like that, which don't mean anything to a big band, but to a little band, it's a lot of money.
You've experienced all that, so
Oh, what? Yeah, I've experienced having to work with a microphone that's about 9 years old, and having to literally strip it down every night just to make sure it was going to work the next night. Yeah.
I gather that you've seen the hungry days, is what I call them, the days where you have to really count the pence that you've got in their pocket for the next
I've
day.
had bailiffs at me door, threatening to take furniture away and all that because I hadn't paid things because I just didn't have the money. And my wife there, who you've just met, she had to share it with us. We've been married 12 years now, and she, right from, because I was only young when I got married, she was 16, I was 19, and we had nothing. And I served me time in the factory and all that, and then after a while, there was a draftsman, and Carl thought, "Oh, this is it, he's settled for life now, he's a draftsman in a big engineering firm, good money, he's got everything now." And I was a draftsman for 3 months, and I just couldn't take any more. Hey, God, it drove me crazy, sharpening pencils and drawing lines in there. And when I came back one Friday night and I said, I've handed me notice in, she just couldn't understand it, She just, "What for?" I said, "I was doing the band properly." And I mean, like, not only her, but, my family, my father, my mother, Carol's father and mother, just couldn't understand it. Mine, it's taken us nearly 10 years to prove it. So, for 10 years, I've not only had the burden of carrying my wife and family, but also of other people saying all the time that I've been wrong. So it's nice at the end of the day to turn around and say, well, I might be a little bit late. I'm not exactly an overnight sensation, but it has worked out nicely,
I would gather from what you've been telling me about your past is that you are now in what could be best described as a more relaxed mind. We've still got obviously things to worry about, but you haven't got that much to worry about as you had in the past. So probably as a singer, you could concentrate more on the singing rather than worrying where you're going to get your next pound from, right?
That's exactly it. When we were in a small band, there's things like that. You obviously love your music. You've got to, or you wouldn't be in that position. But at the same time, you're always wondering, how much we're going to get this week. And the only difference between a big band and a small band, I mean, apart from lots of equipment and big audiences and things like that, is the fact that, thank God, the money, you don't have to worry about so much. You really can just concentrate solely on music, and it makes it so much easier. You can just totally let yourself go completely, and it's just a nice feeling. It does make you more relaxed, obviously, because like everybody in the world is worried about money. I mean, especially in England, and especially now, as you know, there's a big recession in England, and it's everybody's having to struggle. Everybody's on short time work, so therefore it makes you feel even luckier that you have got a job, but I mean a job that you really enjoy doing. You got to count yourself among the few lucky people in the world. So it's it's just but then again, it's just fate. We're great fatalists, and it's just fate. It just happens.
When I talked to you before, you told me that you could find the strain and the worries on the first album, that you could personally hear them. Okay, the kids might not hear them, but are you satisfied with the end result of Back in Black?
Well, yeah, it's just something personally I can hear in it. I can say I was there, and in every verse I remember exactly what I was doing. And I remember after about 5 days out in the Bahamas, because it is a lonely place, the Bahamas. It's a rotten place. It's a stinking place. And I was suddenly plucked out of my environment, up in the working class environment up in Newcastle, and suddenly chucked into the Bahamas, with all this sand and sun and palm trees. And I just didn't like it, and the lads hated it as well. Nobody liked it. It was rotten. And tried to do a rock and roll album there, and although I was just getting to know the boys, I still felt a little bit lonely. A couple of friends from Newcastle would have cheered me up no end, plus the fact that half the songs were just half written, and sitting there thinking, will this ever end? Is it going to work out right? And if it doesn't work out right, I'm going to be the biggest scapegoat the world's ever known. For this
So
year.
you were worried during the recording of Back in Black whether you might be rejected as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end result, I could have spent 6 weeks there doing an album, and at the end of it, if it didn't work out well, they could have just sat and said, well, that was a waste of time, and just thrown it in the bin, and said, listen, we'll try for someone else. So therefore, I had to, that was all running through my mind, of course, and but that's just a personal thing, because I didn't realise what I had taken on. I didn't think it was that big, and I was just really relieved. I was so relieved at the end when the first phone call came through from the manager saying, "Oh, great, brilliant." I went, "Oh, God." Then Atlantic Records rounded up and they said, great, fantastic. It's going to do the business. And I mean, for about 3 days when I came back from the Bahamas, I just sat in a chair at home and I didn't move. I never moved, I just tried to take stock of what was going to happen. But of course, once I did settle down, and I thought to myself, oh, well, what the public going to think of it? Then after that, what's the first gig going to be like? So it's still happening now. Like just when I came back from the States, I thought, oh my God, I've got to go to England. And they're a really fierce audience there, and now I've got to go to Europe. Now, and then after Europe, I've got to go to Australia, where Bon was born, where the band were really big, and then after that, I've got to go to Japan. So Japan will not be too hard, because the band have never played in Japan. So therefore, it's not too much of a worry, because I know when they see me, it'll be the first time they've seen the band. But like Australia, they've all seen the band before. Europe, the band have toured.
So you still got your worries with you.
You've still got your worries all the time. And now next year, I feel a little more confident, because I've done it once before, and I feel like more part of the band. So, and everybody's been dead nice. All the kids and all that have been great.
Now you when you joined AC/DC, you obviously had to play a lot of the old material, especially the stage favorites, right?
Yes, right.
Was there any material which you found perhaps not suitable for you?
Yeah, well, at first of all, funnily enough, the Jack was a song we never ever wanted to do because we thought it was a little bit too personal. Yeah, the way Bon sang it, the way, you know, the personal connotations it had for Bon. But then, about 2 weeks before we left America, we started to do it. And nobody seemed to mind at all. And we did it in England and nobody seemed to mind. And that was it. And then we thought, all right, from now on, there's nothing that we can't do. None of the songs we can't do because it's, because, you know, the kids will accept it, you know, they're just pleased. And AC/DC have kept going, you know. So, it's been too easy. I mean, it should have been a lot harder. Although, you know, it was hard, but to me, it's been, everybody's helped me personally so much. It's been a doddle, you know.
What has become your favorite number on stage from AC/DC?
On stage, I enjoy all of it. I like Hell's Bells. I love doing Hell's Bells at the start. But also, I like TNT. I love doing TNT and High Voltage. And Shook Me All Night Long is a great stage number. And Shoot the Thrill. I like doing that as well. I could never pinpoint one number. Where I don't know.
Hell's might be very appropriate.
Yeah, it's because that was one of the first numbers we did, you know, in the recording, and everybody was dead pleased the way it turned out, you know. So, but as I say again, it's just all personal, you know, and there's a lot of songs we don't do that kids say, you know, why didn't you do that? And of course we can't. You just can't squeeze it in, you know. There's too many songs to do.
Now, your contribution on the new album has been in the shape of Young, and Johnson now.
Yeah.
What did you contribute towards most of those songs? Was it ideas? Was it lyrics as well?
Lyrics. Yeah, it was just, you know, mainly lyrics. Because when we started rehearsing, the boys had the riffs, and they didn't have any melodies for the songs. They didn't have any tunes. You know, which, you know, you can make a riff, but you've got to have a tune to go with it, otherwise it's all going to sound the same. And we worked it all out from the rehearsal, small rehearsal rooms we had, and we had the basic idea of the tunes we were going to do in London before we left for the Bahamas, and I had written lyrics for every song. But, you know, I knew that the lyrics would have to be vetted by the boys, and it was, you know, the boys would just sat around the table and just, you know, the boys would say, no, that line I don't like, you know, and you'd change it, or they'd come up with an idea, oh yeah, how about if that rhymes, and you'd go, oh yeah, that's good. And it was a real help.
Were you a songwriter before you joined AC/DC?
Yeah, I was writing songs for the Geordie band, you know, and I got used to it and all that, but I was never a prolific songwriter. I never sort of sat down to write songs.
Was these songs that you were writing there, were the songs different because of different subjects to what you're writing now?
Oh yeah, totally, completely. And I can't say I was influenced by AC/DC songs because I hadn't heard that many of them, you know. Just, you know, like Let There Be Rock album.
So what you did is you had a general look at what AC/DC mainly wrote about before, and then you try and continue the same line. Yeah,
but I've always been a cheeky writer. You know, I've always written songs with tongue in cheek. You know, where people can listen to them and you know, have a little bit of a smile on their face while they're listening to them. You know, like giving a dog a bone, you know, and things like that. It's, you know, if they stop and think about the lyrics, it's all cheeky, and but it's all, you know, it's all funny as well. You know, it's all just meant as tongue in cheek, nothing serious. You know, sometimes people ask us what deep message is in the songs. You know, there must be a deep message there. Like, no, there's nothing, nothing. And I cannot believe it, you know, like, but these lyrics are so meaningful. And I just laugh. I just say, well,
Because it's the first thing probably that comes to your mind.
yeah, you know, if you can read something into it, you know, by all means, go ahead, you know.
Was there ever a time during these gigs that you've had when you were not accepted by any fans? I know the reaction has been great, but I'm asking you whether there has been that I might
It's
not.
never happened yet. Touch wood, isn't any on this thing. Touch wood, it's never happened yet. You know, I was expecting it. I really was. I was expecting a few people to, you know, maybe say, you know, anything, you know, something bad up, and nobody has, you know, and it's been great. That's helped. Obviously, if that had happened a few times in the first few gigs, that would have made me feel really sort of low for weeks and weeks, you know. I wouldn't have felt good at all. But it didn't, you know, right from the first gig. And you've got to remember, the first gigs we did, we were doing tracks off Back in Black, and nobody had heard of them. They were sitting saying, who's this, a new singer? Songs I haven't heard before. You know, what's going down here, you know? And the reaction was great, you know. They stuck with all the way, the kids. It was excellent. And it was nice the way that as the tour progressed, the album went straight into the charts in the States, and people started to know the songs, you know. And, you know, whereas before would say, here's a song called Back in Black, and there'd be nothing, you know, total sort of, now at the end of the tour, here's Back in Black, and whoa, and a big roar, you know. It was fantastic, you know. I loved it.
Now, I've also been talking to people like Cheap Trick, for example, and they do play AC/DC numbers. The AC/DC band, the band itself has become a sort of respected band in that way, that people now do tunes from, you know, from the albums, which I should imagine is encouraging for you as well, being a newcomer to the band, to say that this is a respected.
Yeah, it's about time they did respect the band, you know. And now I think with the more respected guitarists and people in the rock business, seeing in the press like Ted Nugent and Townsend and all that, who are actually stating that their favourite rock band is AC/DC, other people are giving it an extra listen, you know, to try and, you know, giving the albums an extra listen to try and understand what they're talking about. And they're sitting there and going, oh, yeah, this is good. I will try that one.
No.
So, you know, it all rubs off on everybody, you know, as it goes along.
Do you think that the band had, throughout the press, for example, they've always gave the band the bad image, you know what I mean? I don't know why, but it might not be too difficult to guess, you know, perhaps because of maybe Bon being in the news, you know, and because maybe he liked to drink, and now because of what the tragedy that had happened, they always put a bad label on the band. What was your opinion of AC/DC before you joined the band?
I just thought of them as a rock and roll band, and that was basically it. You see, the thing is, I never believe music press. The only time I buy a music paper is to see who's on where. I mean, even the reviews, I know that it's just a personal opinion of one man and not the audience, you know. So therefore, I'm not the one who reads reviews. The boys never read reviews. I mean, if it's a good one, it's a bonus. You know, you just listen, read it and go, oh, that's nice. But I mean, we generally never go out of our way to read them. And therefore, it's just, it's not worth sort of, you know, getting an opinion unless you go and see the band yourself. I could never see the band because I was already working. I was always working, you know, with my own band. But friends of mine who'd seen them in Newcastle and such, always used to say, you know, you've got to go and see this band, you know, absolutely amazing.
No, you're not exactly a newcomer to the band in the way that you've actually worked with Bon in the past when he used to have a band called Fraternity, right?
That's right, yeah.
What was it? Did he support you or you supported them? What was the case?
Well, they supported us in Geordie, 1974, 73 or 74. And, but I didn't know the man. I mean, I can't remember him. I remember going for a drink with him, but I cannot remember him talking to us. I may talk to him, I just know he was there. And there was about 3 of them from the band, and we all sat down and had a drink. And, you know, and that was it. because he looked so different, from when he was in the AC/DC. I didn't know it was him in the AC/DC. It's totally different person. Yeah, it was the era of the high boots and stuff like that, so he was just a different person.
Angus told me that, in fact, Bond had spoken very highly of you, as was you, and in fact, Steve Winwood and another guy who I can't remember the name of, as his favorite singers.
Yeah.
So in many ways, it came out really well that you joined the band instead of somebody else joining the band.
Yeah.
Without sounding too selfishly.
Yeah, the boys told us that when I first went in to meet them. And I said, "Oh, Warren used to talk about you," and I said, "Oh, that's very nice." And of course, I couldn't remember them. That's the schmuck. I was going, "Oh, yeah, I can't remember them, man." And I mean, I obviously knew when they said these, but I couldn't remember the time when we'd met. And but then it all dawned on us, it was around Grimsby and Cleethorpes and Southampton. We all played together in Brighton, and that all came flooding back to us. I remember them, and it's a compliment. It's a nice compliment from him.
Let's talk now briefly about the album Back in Black. It is, the title itself, of course, refers to, as I was talking to you before, but it's the album without showing any words on it. It is all of it dedicated to Bond.
Yeah.
In a very pleasant way, rather than writing it,
Yeah.
But there have been something which really annoyed you, which you told me when I met you in Leicester, where, for example, the track "Have a Drink on Me."
Yeah.
Now, for those who don't know, can you explain? Because first of all, Bond didn't die of alcohol. It was a tragic thing that he suffocated, and so explain to the people, out there.
Yeah, it's just the track "Have a Drink on Me" was misinterpreted, especially in the States, by a couple of critics who thought it was a pretty sick thing to do, putting "Have a Drink on Me" on the album, and they thought it was a reference to Bond drinking, and it really upset everyone. Everybody was really mad about it because it had got nothing to do with that at all, absolutely nothing at all. It just refers, the title refers to the song, just have a drink on me, when we go out, you go with the boys, just have a drink, you probably spend all your money. One of the lines says, never mind about the check, because we'll get hell to pay. And off the little woman waiting for you, or whoever, off the police. You're going to get wrong anyway, doesn't matter when you drink, you're going to get wrong sometime. And that's all it is, just a laugh, Basically, just, what lads do when they go out for a drink. And if there's a gang of you, it starts out as just a nice quiet drink, but by the end of the night, you end up swapping stories and jokes, and the drink starts to flow even more, and then before you know where you're behind your back. That's all. It's just a fun song,
But it was wrong that it was.
We were annoyed. Yeah, we were annoyed that people thought it was a sick attempt at some form of reference to Bond.
No, are you now writing new material, Brian?
Yeah, we're just as the tour goes on, I've had a few ideas, and I just jot them down, And Mal's been doing, Mal's, he just sits in his room, he gets some riffs together, gets some basic ideas, but as he says, he never really thinks about it until the time comes, and then he gets his little tape recorder out and listens to what he's done all year, right through the tour and everything, and then he picks the ones out he thinks can be worked on, works on them, and then I'll have my lyrics there, and we can see if the lyrics fit any of the tunes, and it's done like that. It's nice and easy, no pressure,
When are you scheduled to go into record the album? Have you an idea yet?
Yeah, it's we'll come back from Japan, and then we'll have about 2 weeks off holiday, which we deserve, I think, and then we'll go straight to the studio.
What are your impressions of Japan? Have you ever been there, first of all?
Yeah, I was there for 2 weeks in 1974, and I loved it.
What, playing?
No, well, it was just a promotional tour for Geordie, just televisions and things like that. But I've never ever played there. But I loved the country so much. You know, we were going to stay an extra week. We had a real nice time. You know, the hospitality, everything. You know, it was really good, and it was an interesting country as well for a change.
But now you're going in a different format.
Going a different format. I'm really looking forward to actually playing there live. You know, it's shouldn't you go to countries like Sweden or Norway or France or Germany? It's just like England, but with a different tongue. Well, when you go to Japan, it's just totally different.
Different culture as well.
It's like a different planet, you know. Totally different planet. It's interesting, you know. I mean, you can actually see, oh, I've been to a foreign country. I think if I go to Germany, or you know, it's not
the same.
It's not the same, you know. So America's like that. It's totally different culture, everything.
But Japanese people look like.
No, it is. It's a totally different outlook on life as well, you know. There's nice family spirit there as well in Japan. I don't know. That's hard to describe as well, but I just noticed it as soon as I went there. And I enjoyed it, you know. I enjoyed going to the restaurants at night, you know, and well, a great time there.
What do you remember of Japan so far? What do you remember?
We stayed in Tokyo all the time. We never moved out to Tokyo, you know. So I just remember the bustle, you know, the hustle, the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people on the street. You know, the department stores, like I actually shoulder, it was packed. You could hardly move, you know. But that was the main thing I remember. People, hundreds and hundreds of people everywhere, yeah. In the temples, you know, in the park, but the temple and all that. And
as a final question, Brian, what do your influences come from? Who have you listened to as a singer?
Ray Charles. There's a Ray Charles tape on there now, just ready to get blasted in a minute. And Joe Cocker, I love him. And Ike and Tina Turner. Well, Tina Turner, I mean, you know.
These people that you've mentioned so far, they're soul people. They're not really rock and roll. How come you relate?
Yeah, if you listen to Ray Charles, yeah, I'll stick a track on for you in a minute, a few tracks, and it's all rock and roll, man. Because like Ray Charles never really soul, just because he was black. The poor bugger got tagged with a soul singer. Just because he was black, he wasn't sort of. It's more like rock and roll, man. Tell me what I say and all that. That's not soul. It's rock and roll, man. And yeah, Cocker, he elevated it, rock and roll, into something special. And it's a Jerry Lee Lewis, you know. And I don't know, there's a stack of people who I love listening to. Howlin' Wolf, the old blues band, you know.
These are all old guys, right? You mentioned. What about, have somebody from new bands that impressed you?
Graham Bonnet. I like Graham Bonnet.
But not Richie Blackmore.
Richie Blackmore, are we? Not really, no.
Do you like Crocus?
Crocus, I've never seen them. Never seen them. I met a couple of the lads out with Crocus, you know, and Graham had quite a drink and everything, but I never ever seen them actually play it. So, you know, and in fact, I haven't even heard a track off the album yet, so I couldn't exactly give you an honest opinion, you know. But I've heard they're very good, so, you know, I mean, there must be a good band. But at the minute, as you can appreciate, I've been that busy trying to get myself right. I've had time for this than anybody else. But I mean, like, we're touring Europe, as I say, starting next week, and the support band's Whitesnake, and they're a good band as well. But as the boys near say that, you know, they're scared of nobody. They'll play with Led Zeppelin, you know, that they just really aren't, because they know rock and roll will take anyone on, you know. So, and then, I don't know, I never like sort of listening to other bands too much, otherwise you might start copying. But that's the trouble with heavy metal bands now. They all sound the same. Honestly, yeah. I can listen to one and you can put another track on, blindfold me, and I'll just say, it's the same band.
It's a good thing that you don't actually. Okay, you're heavy, but you're not. You're more of a heavy rock band, a rock and roll
Yeah,
band.
it's hard rock. It's not heavy metal. God, don't say that. It's nothing like heavy metal. Because heavy metal bores me to tears. I mean, it really does. I just can't listen to it. Not and enjoy it. You know, I can't enjoy it. But hard rock, I could listen to that all night. It's great, man. You know, so, you know, there is a distinguishing point between the two, definitely, you know. And I think the kids know that, you know. I think they can tell it a mile off. You know, when I start wearing tight silk trousers and studs on my arms and studded belts and things like that, yeah, and then, you know, I'm turning heavy metal.
It's funny in a way because the people that come are also heavy metal fans, aren't they?
Yeah, I know.
But they appreciate both.
Oh, yes, I appreciate both. You know, I mean, they're like the heavy metal bands as well, but the heavy metal bands don't sell the concerts out like the AC/DC do. So therefore, it just goes to prove we've got a more of a cross-section of the audience, you know? So I think it's pleasing, you know, it's nice to know the kids like hard rock, because it's so easy to follow, man. You don't have to sort of dig deep into your soul to think about it. You just stamp your feet and get on with it, you know? Was great.
Brian Johnson, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And as you can see, I speak all the languages.